Up next, Supernatural Realm on the LNM Radio Network. Here's Sean Austin. Welcome back to Supernatural Realm on the LNM Radio Network. And unfortunately, that was Sean Austin, and unfortunately, he hasn't, for some reason or other, wasn't able to make it this evening, so we are scrambling to find a
No, we are not scrambling.
We're not?
We can bring Odin in.
Well, let's bring him on. We'll have a,
All right,
we'll have a discussion like we did last night. Had a good time.
Oh, see, this works out great.
Yeah.
Make sure we have him on first. Ladies and gentlemen, not only welcome to Supernatural Realm, but welcome to Mercury in retrograde. Boy, we got a slightly late start and a guest that didn't show up.
Oh, man. Man, that Mercury retrograde's really active this past few weeks, isn't it, Chip?
Yeah, just a little bit. Well, it started on my birthday of all days, so, I feel responsible.
All your fault, Chip.
Right. I think we added him, have we?
I don't know.
Odin, are you there?
There he is. He's here.
Oh, good.
Or am I just in between time warps? Because Odin is here.
Odin's in the house.
Yay. Oh, this is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to talk to a beautiful man. Personally, for me, even as the co-host of this program, I have a show here on this network Mondays from 7 to 9 p.m. called Kindness Beyond the Veil, and Odin is my beloved producer. Yes, we have a god as a producer for our show because that's how cool we are.
That's how we roll.
And today we have a god as a guest, and that's how cool we are on Supernatural Realm, Timmy. That's the power of Timmy right there.
It's Timmy time, Timmy time, Timmy time. There you go. It's the rock time. It should be called the night at the Roxbury.
Oh, I love that. Wow. Yeah. Maybe we'll do that and talk about all sorts of stuff and swear and pay the FCC for it. Yeah. Have all sorts of fun like that.
Yeah,
we can have fun.
We had a lot of good discussion last night. I had a blast, man, after the show.
Oh.
Yeah, most of it we couldn't air. But it was a lot of fun. I will say that.
Poor me falling out of my chair a couple of times, laughing with tears streaming down my eyes. I mean, people don't realize that. I'm sorry, people, might not realize, but Chip and Tim can have you literally pissing on yourself. I mean, they should have a comedy show more than a supernatural show. I mean,
know, right?
That's really fun.
Yeah.
We could do it. It's a good time for comedy. We need laughter in this day and age, man.
Yeah, with the Mercury retrograde, I believe a little bit of laughter will help because the insanity of the spirits has come upon us.
Oh, you go, man. That is absolutely correct. Yes. And we were talking about that last night. Mercury retrograde aside, and just put that all aside. Even pretend it's not happening. Because even when there isn't Mercury in retrograde, computers break down, conversations break down, fall apart, It's just the only difference is nobody can say, aha, and blame it on Mercury retrograde. And you can just say, the devil made me do it or whatever. Normal excuse is, It's just another reason to have an excuse. That's why I always had an issue with that Mercury in retrograde thing, Because if I didn't know about it, I wouldn't be so conscientious about it. Everything I say and everything I type on the computer and how my computer's acting today and, all that stuff,
Well,
or if trees fall down on servers. Yeah, stuff that.
I did upgrade my Skype to that update. I hate this new Skype, man. It was freezing last night, and I just hate it.
Yeah, they're just waiting to make it even more troubling to use. Gets harder and harder to figure out. Well, just give me the old one where there were 3 buttons and you knew exactly what was going on. Has it troubled you, our beloved guest and God?
Well, let me explain something to everyone. I am Odin. I use my powers wise. So I love my computer. Yesterday, let's see, the server, burped a little bit, and my butt dropped, and it's fun. And I was trying to figure out how to save a show that was unspeakable, and I was trying to figure out why me. I've done everything right, and so I had to call upon the Valkyrie to help me. Said, Valkyrie, assistant, fight for me. And you know what they said? Man, Mercury retrograde, I'm going back over here and sit down. Calling Ira, who helped me. And yes, your show was broadcast well yesterday, thanks to Ira. Then we did the old switcheroony, and it came to me. But I'm going to tell you honestly, Mercury retrograde is one of those points in the seasons that everyone experiences something, be it supernatural, be it UFO, be it a portal, because yes, portals are there. Trust me, you can testify. Every one of us here can testify to that. And last but not least, schizophrenia, insanity, and also other issues involving the mind are highly, highly possible. And also the enhancement of spiritual powers. Think about that.
Yeah, I do think about that. And I'll say out loud something I haven't confessed to you guys yet. Because I've had this illness now, going on its 3rd week. it's a thing, you know. You got that infection taste in your sinuses, so food doesn't taste good, you know. And you try to get good food and you can't eat it because it tastes like it's infected, right? Mm-hmm. And sleeping all the time. There were days where I slept for 20 hours, you know. And there were times, and here's my Mercury in retrograde-esque confession, where I had lucid dreams. I'm not a lucid dreamer, okay? Mm. But it's like I woke up in the bed I was in the room I was in, you know, exactly where I was. And I could hear voices in the apartment next to me, adjacent to me, as loud as if they were in my room. And they were saying things about radar. And if they think, you know, do you think he could detect us on this radar? And I'm saying, shut up, I'm trying to sleep, right? But there is no apartment adjacent to me, you know. Wow. So it was like an interdimensional thing. And it happened to me again when I woke up in bed, in the position that I was, in the place where I was, and there were voices where my closet is in the bedroom. Oh, and they were, you know, it sounded like a bunch of kids partying and having some fun, but just making too much noise. So I screamed at them, you know, shut up. And they're like, no. You know? And so I called out for my angels. That's what I do. And then they shut up, and that was it. But it felt like the current place and time. But there were things happening in that current place and time that couldn't possibly happen in that current place and time. So perhaps it's an interdimensional thing, you know. Chip here is on the path to ascension and all this, you know. I had a couple of readings from some psychics that I really trust. We trade, you know. I do tarot readings for them. They do their kind of readings for me. And I talked to like Lois Martin, who's going to be a guest of mine week 4 of August on this network here, Mondays from 7 to 9 p.m. Sorry, Timmy. Shameless self-promotion here. Kindness beyond the veil. And was talking about this is like the time for the 5D transition. Mm. And I've had guests that are 5D. I don't know if you've talked about fifth dimensional living or not.
No, not yet.
And some of it I don't really understand. I'm trying to understand it. You know, I watch an awful lot of videos about it. I don't know if you, Odin, have been thinking about 5D, but he says the transition really starts right around your birthday. So I'm thinking maybe that's part of it, this kind of interdimensional thing. So maybe they were spirits or extraterrestrials, or I just shifted some sort of time zone. Because part of 5D is you see confusions with time, you know. Like you look at the clock and you think it's 2 in the afternoon and it's 7 p.m. and you go, where did the day go? You know, that's not the Mandela effect. That's this part of this 5-dimensional shift. I'm not a Mandela effect guy personally. You know, like I said, you know, fake news is bad enough. Now we have to have fake memories, really. You know, but this was a thing. So I want to ask you guys your opinions on that. Is Chippy going crazy?
Yep. Let me start because I'm dying over here. Chip was talking. I kept hearing the song. I hear voices in my head. They
now stop that.
The Randy Orton song in my head, and I'm like, wow. I'm Chip. We have a place for you. It's called the Dimensional Highway in the world. Listen, Chip, it's okay. It's okay. We understand. Medication where you want. I mean, did you tell them? Did they talk? When you talked to them, did they respond?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, in one way, I mean, in the first situation where they're talking about asking if somebody's on the radar or can see their radar. Okay. You know, when I told them to shut up, they stopped talking.
They're just going out to irritate you, Chip.
Yeah, and the ones in the closet, you know, the kids, which sounded like kids partying. You know, they were defiant because, you know, that's what if I came across kids partying outside, and in my town here. and I told them to shut up, they would be defiant to me in life.
Yeah,
So
you have any spirits that listen to you, though?
Oh, I got spirits all around. We have this church right behind us here, a big Christian church, very popular place.
Were they in session when you were talking to them?
I don't think so. No. This was at like unusual times, so I would say no. But they do have these kids that play basketball at night, and they don't start until 11:30, and they're screaming and having all sorts of fun with their basketball until like 2 in the morning, and that's a bit annoying. Then they had some right around I think it was Ramadan or Eid, where they had a bunch of youngsters that were playing like Punjabi music, which I actually, I actually like Punjabi music.
Yeah.
I had friends from Pakistan, or Pakistan as they say. So I like the Punjabi music, but I don't like it blasted, at 12:30 in the morning, because my wife's sleeping and I have concerns about that. Have to be a protector, and I don't know why they were playing that stuff, but that was real life. But as far as
go ahead, Tim, because I was going to ask Tim
because it was the witching hour, Chip. It's always active during witching hour.
Yeah. Well, I'm usually up during witching hour, so it doesn't matter. And I do have experiences in witching hour, but they're with friends or spirits that I have had communication with over the years, and they are rather protective of me. But there is this one spirit at that church, and his name is Bob. And sorry, Bob, to say it out loud.
Bob.
Bob is a real pain in the butt to a bunch of spirits that are in a neighboring graveyard, which is right down the street, about a block away. All right. So we got a church 1 block away here behind us, and a graveyard a block away down the road, right? And the spirits in the graveyard are complaining about Bob because Bob's really kind of haranguing them. He's just kind of a pain in the butt. And they say, can you talk to this guy? So I talk to Bob. Bob wants to cross over, knows that I can do that for him. But he can't do it until his family, his living, surviving family, fixes their issues. And there's like domestic abuse and all sorts of things going on in Bob's family that he's waiting to subside. And it's starting to subside a bit. So I'm getting a lot of, hey, Chip, come on, man, type of messages from both the people in the graveyard who just want him to go away, and Bob, who's ready to go away. So as far as that goes, yeah. But in my bewitching hour, I do talk to, my childhood friend who came to me at the moment of his death, or my wife's dad, or my mother. And sometimes, okay, sounds crazy, but I don't care. Spirits of like well-known people, celebrities, if you will, and unusual ones. Ones that I have no reason to have communication with in life, like Kurt Cobain, or Anna Nicole Smith, or Johnny Carson, or Gene Kelly. And sometimes Luther Vandross comes to visit me. But I do have connection with him because I love his music so much. And that sounds nuts, but, welcome to Chip World. But I'm not a lucid guy, I'm not a lucid guy. I'm not an astral guy. So I really don't understand this, but it seems like, and Odin was with me. We had a shaman on. His name is Ty Walking Deer.
Who I have to get in contact with. I already know.
You really do. And he did this meditation during the show, which was a real beautiful meditation, brought unconditional love to everyone, so we could send it out, and make people calm for no reason whatsoever, for at least a moment. But we had a thing after the show that he did with us, and we saw him
shapeshift.
Yeah. And he is fully talking about other dimensions. Derek White Sky Cloud, who also has a show here on this network, and is a tribal elder and a shaman. also they think of these other dimensions where ghosts and extraterrestrials and fairies and deities and all kinds of things are like, to them it's like Tuesday afternoon. To us it's really unusual and an amazing thing, but to them it's just, it's like having a sandwich. It's no big deal. But
description.
Right? So,
hey, Chip, speaking of lucid dreaming, we have Craig Webb on the 14th of August.
Wow.
Ooh.
Good. Well, that'll be at the tail end of this Mercury in retrograde,
Yeah, he specializes in lucid dreaming. So it'll be interesting.
But the real good news is, if Mercury is still retrograde and he doesn't show up, we can always talk to Odin,
Yeah.
And we haven't really done that yet because Chip won't shut up.
But let me explain something. Chip, I have an analysis. Gerald and I were talking, and, I must say that we have an analysis for you of your situation.
Oh, good.
The situation was that the ghosts were actually out and having fun that evening, and Bob was really kicking their butt and disturbing them, so they gave you all the sounds of your environmental area enhanced and heightened, because during Mercury retrograde you also have the ability to sense and hear clearer.
Yeah. Well, I suppose that's happening, and that's part of my ascension process. Look, I used to talk to Spirit all the time. I mean, it was like my biggest goal in life, because I came across a lot of spirits that were in distress, including earthbound ones.
Maybe that's why they're annoying the hell out of you now, because you don't communicate with them like you used to.
Because I haven't been communicating with them. Yeah, they're nudging me. And I'm going to have to take care of that. I got to just make sure Bob's ready, because one night he is and one night he's not, because his family's a mess.
Yeah.
And, I'm not going to seek them out.
Is his family holding him here because they got unresolved
His family
issues?
is holding him here. His concern of his family is holding him here.
Okay.
I think there's a situation where he really wants someone near to him, a son, brother. It's a male. I'm really not that specific in my things. I don't do names and birthdays and things like that. But I know their greatest hope and their greatest fear. I know their soul, So I don't need a name for that in order to deal with them, because I can be unconditionally supportive, So if I'm talking with, let's say, Charles Manson, which I really don't think will ever happen, I wouldn't think of him as Charles Manson. I would think of him as a guy who seems stuck for some reason, and maybe he could use my help, So I don't look at him as a killer, and even if I knew he was a killer, it's not my position to judge. There are divine figures for that, especially for those in afterlife. So I have to take away my personal feelings about killing, for example, and think that life is what it is. Our time is up when our time is up, and there has to be a balance between good and evil, life and death, joy and pain, all that stuff.
Everything is predestined already.
Yeah, and because we're not out there in the desert, surrounded by animals with no housing, no plumbing, like the humans of old, you have to think that without the food chain, there has to be something else that creates a balance in life and death. So unnatural causes, unusual causes, violent causes, things of that nature are part of the balance. So you have to take all your emotion out of the picture and just look at them as a person, gray, shades of black and white, No. Everybody, there's nobody that I've ever met or seen that I think of as pure evil. There's nobody that I've met and seen in life that I think of as pure divine.
Right.
All right. Everybody's done good and bad things, whether they want to or not. It's just that's the situation. So you take all of that away, and you say, so what's the issue?
Right.
You know, and you get their honesty, and you know, you can I can cross them over if I want to, because of my pain that I have in life physically. You know, there's something to make up for that. And I think, and I say this a lot, anything that makes anyone feel less than human, right? Less than fitting in, less than able. There is something that makes them, throughout universal law and the laws of balance, superhuman, you know, super normal, super able. And if they find what that is, it makes it much easier to manipulate this mess of a world that we have right now. You know, so I can bring light to these spirits and allow them to cross. I can bring angels or even deities to them to allow them to cross. You know,
right?
But I got to a point where my empathy had skyrocketed. You know, and Timmy, you understand that as an empath, and I know Odin does as a god and an empath. That sometimes when you just feel everybody's energy, it's a bit overwhelming. And if you have a physical situation that is already quite painful, it adds to that, you know. There were times where you would talk to spirits and you could feel how they died, you know, you'd feel some pressure in your chest or in your neck or in your head, you know, or all over, or burning sensations, or smoke sensations, or whatever.
Hey Chip,
you know.
How do I add Sean? He's calling in.
He's calling in. All right.
Calling in.
Well, let's see. I don't have him. So you just hit add to call. You know where that number 2 is, or that little person on the top right. You click on that and see if the number's coming up.
Okay, he says it shows he's active, and what do I push to add the call?
You push the little guy with the plus sign.
Okay.
And see if see if that number shows up.
Yeah, he's right here.
And then you click on the number and hit done, and it should add him.
Okay.
And while that's going on, I have to admit, Chip, you know, Mercury retrograde, or as I said on various shows, Metro retrograde. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna let you have that one, Chip.
Right.
Has been a phenomenal force of nature on this planet. I mean, today we had a 6.4 magnitude earthquake in Indonesia. Yesterday we had one in the Falkland Islands.
Right.
We've had them even California, the Mexico border.
Oh, we've got fires all over the West.
Yes, and also don't forget that there was also a 6.9 magnitude earthquake on May 6th of 2018 that started the volcano. And then today, San Francisco, California earthquake felt by thousands.
Wow.
So this Mercury retrograde has been more like a metro. It's traveling all over the world. China's having heat waves. Europe's having heat waves. India is having, in the southern tip, heat waves. Northern tip, heat waves.
Yeah, Siberia even.
Yeah, Siberia is having a heat wave. Just imagine nice ice cold Siberia where it's nice and cool and you dress for your occasion. Has a heat wave. The spirits are awake. The earth is awake. Land is awake. Trees are awake. They know what's going on. And has anybody, as of yet, mentioned the hole in the ozone layer?
Not out loud.
Well, they won't.
Yeah.
They don't want you to know.
Well, if I can suspect there are lots of reasons for that. You know, that's a whole thing. Just like disclosure, the idea of disclosure. You know, they are here. You know, we are not alone. It's that, you know, public panic situation.
Hey Chip, I put
Tim.
guys, I put add to call or add to group. I pushed done, and it's not working.
Well, maybe because he stopped calling. Let me see, because there's +2 here.
It says scene.austin2 is his Skype.
Okay, let me try that. Scott Austin 2. Yeah, okay, got that one. Let me see if I can. Send that to him. According to him, he's not on.
He must have left.
Well, you know that little green light thing. But I sent him a thing, so maybe he'll get it.
Okay, he's back on now.
All right, great. Okay, so we can end. I'll add him then. Okay. Excellent. So, Odin, you get to meet the great Sean Austin, who's not only a phenomenal musician, he was also part of the show The Demon Files on Destination America. So let me bring my Skype up here, and we'll bring him in. Let's see how Chip does. Oh, boy. All right. How do I get out of this? All right. So.
It was a good show. It
Yeah.
was on Paranormal Zone TV. They do that. They show it.
All right.
Now, that's the same Sean Austin that does the Devil's Hour, right?
Yeah.
I think so.
Okay. Added him to contacts. Now, how do I get out of this screen, damn it? I can't get out of the darn screen. I know what I'll do. Okay, gotcha. All right, so now... there he is. Boom. And ready? We are going to bring on the great Sean Austin to Supernatural Realm with Tim Roxbury.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is he there?
Sean, can you hear us?
Hey, how's it going?
There he is.
We got Sean.
I like that. He's got the people. He's chilled. I like that.
Yeah. Well, Sean, you joined us at an excellent time. My name is Chip Reichanthal. I'm the co-host of the show, and I'm honored to meet you. Of course, Timmy, who hosts the show, is here. We also have the great Odin, who is a producer for one of our shows. And we have a god producing our show. That's how we roll here. But we're really honored to have you on. And I'm going to stop talking now because, the host, I'm sure, would love to meet you.
No problem.
Chip, do you have his bio up?
I do.
Okay.
I do. All right. Would you like that first?
Yeah, go ahead and read that.
It's a beautiful bio. By the way, man, I really like your tunes.
Oh, thank
Excellent. I'm a ex-musician, so we're gonna have to talk about that. But
Very
here's
cool.
the bio of the great Sean Austin. Although Sean had always wholeheartedly believed in the paranormal, becoming an investigator was by mistake. After years of unexplained science fiction-like experiences that still baffle him today, some of which we were kind of talking about amongst ourselves before you showed up here, Sean passionately continues his search for evidence of the unknown. Sean was a featured investigator on the pilot series The Demon Files that aired on Destination America. And it was while jumping headfirst into this new realm of the supernatural, Sean had also triggered new mediumistic abilities to add to this new sense of the unknown world. Well, yeah, we were kind of talking about that too here. Quote, "It is great to be your own piece of equipment while investigating with all other types of technology, advanced stuff we have today to provide evidence," says Sean. With Sean's other years of experience as a musician, and an excellent one, by the way,
Yes.
it's trained his ears and aided in his investigations as well. He says, "Experiencing a new tier of mystery on every investigation is a privilege that is beyond humbling, to be able to learn through these experiences with ultimately helping people any way I can in the process of making these spiritual awarenesses known to the world." So you have my salute, my good brother. That is the bio of our wonderful guest, Sean Austin.
Oh, thank you.
I thought it was really good.
Sean, how did you get started in the paranormal? What led you to start involving yourself?
Well, I mean, like a lot of average people, you grow up watching a lot of these documentaries. I mean, I grew up as a child. I was really into horror movies. I mean, my first birthday was Friday the 13th. Go figure. That was the irony. But I was reading Stephen King novels in 4th grade, but not until I'd say like my mid-20s, I was watching a lot of these ghost documentaries. I think around that time, that's when The Haunting was coming out, and I just was so fascinated by hearing these people's stories that happened to them and the different types of scenarios that were happening when it comes to the different types of entities and situations that people were getting themselves involved with. And I really took to heart believing these people's stories, and I'm like, I really believe this stuff's really happening. And I had this one buddy of mine who's probably the biggest skeptic ever. I always joke around. I say, if he levitated off the floor, I think he'd probably send himself to the hospital. It's probably, I think he's that's how skeptical he is. And I took him to a local cemetery that's known to have a haunting of 3 lady in white, and I took him there, and he walked around, and it was right before the smartphones came, because I still had a flip phone. And I recorded EVPs with my phone, and we were walking around, and he's joking around thinking it's silly and this and that, and we were by this little girl's grave, and a little girl named Jenny, and I'll never forget, I was, Jenny, are you still here? And I was just recording audio, and I thought I heard something, not even listening back, and I'm like, did I hear something as it happened? And not until the next evening, I went back and listened to little clips of audio, and I just heard a little child's voice respond to me right after that, and it was just definitely gives you the chills, and I was freaked out and scared, but I was also excited at the same time. And I had a bunch of EVPs from that night, and I was just like, wow, this stuff is real. So then I would start to I found a buddy of mine that was willing to come out with me, and I started going to cemeteries and trying to get more specific questions to get more specific answers. What month did you die? What president was in office when you died? And just trying to increase that tier of experience through researching and engaging the spirits to see what other kind of manifestations can go on. And 2 weeks after I went to that cemetery and of that little girl's grave, it was already light out, and a little shadow of a little girl appeared right in the corner of my bed, and I screamed out and put my arms out like, what the heck was that? And what I believe now is that I had these abilities dormant within me the entire time, but once I actually not only gauged these spirits, but also accepting the experiences that I was having that were real. I wasn't trying to discount everything, and I really believe that when you put that validity and genuine belief system into everything that you're experiencing, you're going to attract a lot more experiences. And I also believe that my spiritual awakening was triggered because of that in the process. And it led to all sorts of premonitions and dreams and hearing spirits, feeling spirits, and picking up energy and stuff like that. And I'm still learning about it, because I feel like I've only had it for the last 6 years, and it's there and still developing. But yeah, just like my bio said, I love being my own piece of equipment, and I can correlate that with other devices we're using while we're investigating to really get confirmation and bring another puzzle piece to whatever type of investigation we're doing to try to just find answers or help people ultimately. Right.
They seem to know who they can communicate with, don't they?
Yeah, the way I investigate now, it's to me, it's very important to go on investigation with the genuine intent, willing to show respect for the spirits that are still lingering, because I believe that they can see it around your aura, and because we cannot hide behind our intent. That's why intent is such a powerful, acknowledgement with anything. Even you look at the Ouija board. Everyone's like, "Oh, it's the Ouija boards that's dangerous." It's us who we underestimate. It's our intent to energize an inanimate object and use it for whatever we're trying to use it for. Because remember, we're spiritual beings living a human experience. It's not the other way around, and people forget that, and we underestimate what we're capable of doing ourselves. Because a Ouija board could just be a roll-up toilet paper with letters and numbers on the floor with a pint glass, and it's just as the same as the Ouija board as Milton Bradley makes it. So, intent is a very powerful thing. And like I said, showing that respect to spirits, and with that intent, willing to show respect and willingness to try and help them, which I do all the time. I try to offer to say a prayer for them and being thankful that they're showing me some sort of manifestation, that they're here with me. I mean, I get so much reciprocation from the souls and the spirits at some of these, a lot of these locations I go to because of that. And I really think that, like I said, they know what's up. When you go to these places, I don't want to treat them like zoo animals. I don't want to just poke them with a stick and say, "Here, do a backflip. Wow, that was awesome. Let's leave." I mean, you know what I mean? Like, because put yourself in their shoes. I mean, if they have not transitioned into heaven and into the light, and they're stuck here for whatever reason because they have not been able to let go of their emotional, tragedies that led to their death or whatever it may be. I mean, to acknowledge them and show them respect and letting them find a way to the light is, again, I get a lot of activity and reciprocation and responses and activity because of that. I truly believe that. And that's what I keep doing. Just because we can learn. We learn from them. They learn from us, from that two different worldly perspectives. Obviously, they used to live in this one, and we're still living in this one. So, we're constantly learning, and that's why when we're, I always say, like, part of the reason we're fascinated by this stuff is that when we die, the cat's out of the bag. It's a mystery that we're pulling a little layer of the onion, so to speak, one layer at a time, and we get little bits and pieces here, and that's why it's so fascinating and exciting for us. But then, we should obviously be helping each other in the process, because we're lucky to be able to experience any of this stuff. There's a lot of people in the world that never get to experience anything paranormal, just wonder about it and just watch shows. So definitely respect all of that, 100%.
Daryl, you have a question for Sean?
Of course. My good question would be, when you got into the study and the research of spirits, demons, and the ghosts and all those wonderful things go bump in the night, what prompted you to take the leap and put a team together to go investigate these things and to help the individuals that are suffering from the spirit beings? And do you think demons are equivalent to spirits, but older and more wiser, and not something of an evil force? Because I have a personal belief that says a demon is a spirit that could not find a body that it can match with, and it's angry, and it wants a body that it could be in, but over time, the pool of bodies that it could match with could not. It got angry because there was less and less and less of a pool of bodies. Because I honestly believe that spirits match themselves with a body, like, for example, the movie Avatar, where your genetics were the only one that can match with the alien body that can go on the planet. That's my belief. But what do you think?
Well, I mean, obviously, I was brought up Catholic, and when I got involved with the paranormal stuff, I had experiences that backed up my Catholic faith, and that's why I use that to this day. Because I've witnessed evil spirits. There's certain characteristics of a demonic entity rather than something. I mean, I know that you say that there's these demonic things. You're thinking they're just trying to find a body. Yeah, they're trying to find a body because they're trying to make a mockery of our creation. I mean, these things are alien because they never inhabited this physical plane, and they want us to fail. That's why because they're not just about possessing the body. That's not just about getting a body. It's about mocking the creation of what God did. The whole reason why they left God was fighting over the creation of man, because God realized that the lessons that we could learn from our souls, to bring a brightness to our souls with the lessons and the obstacles and the things that we have to endure in a life in a broad spectrum. That's why the demons hate us so much. They fought God over that, and they want to make an example out of us. And that's why they don't just possess people to possess. I mean, they want you to commit suicide. They want you to hurt yourself and hurt others. And once you complete utter torture and chaos. I mean, if they just wanted to get into a body, they would just sit there and do that. Now, I believe there are human negative spirits that can also channel through human beings and possess them as well. Mm-hmm. And, so that's something definitely can happen. But I mean, I've witnessed, psychically and even in my book, I mean, I've seen these things with horns and scaly creatures. And even on one of the episodes of the Demon File, I drew a picture of what I saw was coming at me at the bed. I mean, these things are not just, older. Well, they are older spirits because, I mean, you're talking about God creating them, during that time when they were all just angels before any of this was even created. But I mean, obviously that's my belief system and everything. Like I said, I've experienced things that bring validity to my faith that I've had. And that's why, I go along that path. I wear a Blessed St. Michael pendant around my neck. And I mean, I everywhere I go, they mention my pendant. And, it's been blessed by priests. And it's also been blessed by Ralph's relic of the True Cross that Jesus was crucified on. Even Lorraine Warren has a relic of the True Cross as well. And, it's funny. Everywhere I go, they mention my pendant. I mean, I have even an EVP of something saying, St. Michael's watching him. It's his effing pendant. Like, right after my friend got clawed all over the place and I felt burning on my stomach and my shoulder and nothing ever showed up. And I was asking, like, how come I wasn't attacked? Am I protected? And that's the EVP I got. I mean, you just think about, these types of experiences that are just going along the lines. And because, if they were just human spirits, it would be a lot more complex than that, because there's things out there are truly, utterly evil and they want us to just suffer in every single way. I mean, because if you really just think about the perspective, if this was true, that demonic entities are real, then you're talking about a species, a spiritual species that is literally at war with our kind, and they do not want to be recognized that they are demons. They want to hide in the shadows, and they want to be able to manipulate us like puppets, because they think of us as cattle, as just a complete pointless creation. But that's the way God did not see it, and they want us to learn the lessons we're capable of learning in the physical lives. It's about doing something for our fellow man. It's like universal love, the golden rule: love others, you want to be, loved. That's from all my experiences. That's why I live by that and breathe by it.
Mm-hmm. It's neat that you mentioned it, that your Catholic faith led you to, into the paranormal, and that's what guides you and protects you when you're on investigations. Because I've seen, people. I know people who have had pretty traumatic cases in their homes that, of rosaries breaking in half, crosses bending, and just horrific things happening. And it led me to my mom and I to make rosaries for people who attend Paracons. And when we go to Paracons, we set up our table, and it's phenomenal how many people actually walk up to us and look at the rosaries and purchase them for their own protection.
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. I mean, that's why this, I mean, you'll see, in my book, like, I've had things happen too. I mean, I've been places, my pendant, I mean, people have grabbed at it, try to rip it off me, and just, I pretty much, I make a joke all the time. I pretty much sleep next to a super soaker filled with holy water all the time, because, I mean, I go to so many places that have dark things, and, like, once you step in the way of evil, you're always the target. And that's why I try to, help people understand that, if people want to get interested in the paranormal, we take risks as investigators, because, we're walking into what I like to call, what I put it in my book too, is like the spiritual rules of engagement. And it's the way that God set it up. Like, these things can come into our lives if we invite them in. Then they can kind of manipulate us. The real danger, delicate nature of it is the psychological types of attacks that can happen, not just being scratched or things thrown around your house, because they'll sit dormant. Like, they could sit dormant like 10, 20 years when you invited something in, and wait till it's the worst time in your life, when you have no clue it has anything to do with the paranormal, to sit there and amplify negative emotions, to push you and turn you into a recluse, make you go off by yourself, and ultimately try to hurt yourself and hurt others. And now I was oppressed by an evil spirit, and it was in my book what happened to, and it was doing the same type of thing to me as well. And, you know, I believe that God let me go through that, so I have a deeper understanding what people go through when it comes to oppression, the psychological attacks. And when you get involved with the paranormal, it's very important to realize you got to be objective about some of your emotions if they're not adding up. If any negative emotion is really blown up to the point of like, wow, why am I so angry? Wow, why am I so depressed and sad? You got to be, this is why it's so important to be informed and read these books that help me. I mean, I read the first book I read was Demonologist by Ed Lorraine Warren, to John Zaffis' book, Shadows of the Dark, and then Ralph Sarchi's book, Beware the Night, and The Dark Sacrament. These are all, it's good to know about the worst case scenario. So you got to be prepared for that, because you could walk into some place that you have no freaking clue that could be one of the most evil spirits that could latch on to anybody. And I always tell people all the time, I mean, these things know exactly who to go latch onto and try to attack. I mean, you're like that person who has dark history or something they can ploy them on and use against them. You're like a wounded fish in a school of fish, and then who's that shark going to go to in that school of fish? They're going to go to the fish that's wounded, because they know that they're going to have the best chance to chomp on that and prey on it. And it's the same thing when it comes to these things, because we're talking about a time conception that does not exist in their realm. Past, present, future are all the same thing. So they can tap into all sorts of time periods for us and use it against us from the shadows. And that's the real delicate nature of these things.
I noticed too, like for myself, when you're doing these investigations, or when you're called for an investigation, that when you enter the location, it almost feels like they know you're there. You know, it's eerie, it's dark, it's quiet, and there's no action whatsoever for the longest time while you're there. It's like they know you're there and they know why you're there.
Oh, yeah, and this happens to me before I even go to location. In some of the cases, I'll have some sort of vision of the entities that are in the place that I'm going to. And sometimes it might not happen, but when it's really profound and something big, like it comes to me, and it knows I'm coming, and knows what I'm capable of doing. And, you know, I mean, especially like, you know, what I obviously do all the time is I try to help souls, you know, cross into the light, into heaven. And, you know, I got some evil spirits pissed off at me for that. I mean, some of that's in my book as well. But, you know, I do it for a reason. I do it because I feel like that's the right thing to do. If I saw a woman and child suffering and, you know, injured from, you know, attack from a man on the side of the road, I wouldn't drive by. I'd try to save them. And I think of these souls and these spirits the same way, because they really were just us. I mean, we're all God's children. We're all the same. We all come from the same place. But yeah, they absolutely do know, because again, there's no conception of time in a spirit realm. So they know who and what's going to be coming to a place, and they'll go and visit people to give them a sign or some sort of connection to link them to the place that they're going to.
Wow. Chip, you got a question for Sean?
Yeah, I got a couple of questions that I'm going to just lump into one. And I'm going to ask the real dumb question first, because somebody has to ask a dumb question here. So here's my dumb question for you, because, you know, look, I've researched you, at least I like to think, quite well. I highly recommend your music, by the way. My favorite song of yours is called That's Enough, and it can be found on YouTube on Sean Austin Music and the Paranormal, which I highly recommend. I'm a keyboard guy. I got synthesizers. I have a history with drumming, and I can play lead guitar as long as it's in E minor. Aside from that, I'm no good. But I thank you for the music that you're doing. I think it's awesome and should be mentioned. That is not my question. My dumb question is, if somebody comes up to you and says, "Hey, I loved you in the movie Rudy," do you punch them out? Because Sean Astin is an actor, you know. So.
No, it's funny. It does happen to me. People come, because I Periscope all the time. I Periscope my live haunted, you know, investigations, and I do Q&As, answer people about the paranormal, and they always like see my scope, and I'll always get a couple of people like, "Oh, are you know, how did it feel to act like, you know, in Lord of the Rings?" And I'm just like, oh gosh. Well, I had my
so
credit card.
You do get it. Oh my goodness.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I had my credit card, you know, just recently, and like, are you the guy from, you know, the Goonies?
Oh my God.
I'm like, nope.
Okay.
Maybe
now.
Go ahead,
please.
maybe if it's an attractive lady, I'll say yes. Yeah, that was me.
Well, there you go.
Hey, that worked for me.
Yeah, I wish I looked like somebody other than maybe Albert Einstein on a bad day, you know. And yeah, I don't get approached like that, you know. Sometimes dudes, but that's for another day. Okay, my not so dumb question is this, because when you first came on here and explained your mission, you gave this missive that I thought was one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard. And I really want to focus on that. I come from an unusual place, you know. I mean, Odin described to you his theory on demons. I have never had a negative encounter in the paranormal, and I've been in it for almost 40 years, really. So I come from a very unusual place, and I can go into locations, even troubled ones. But you said in your initial missive about our intent and how it shows around us on our auras and in our energy and can be seen. And I always go in with the intent of unconditional love and support and mere curiosity, you know, no judgment, you know, just there as kind of a figure of light. Never had problems with that. But my question really is, you've been in a lot of situations that were frightening or invited a lot of deep compassion and even some warriorness. And my question is, what's the name of your book and where can we find it? And if you've ever had encounters that moved you, that were kind of loving. You mentioned you help cross people over sometimes.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it seems to be like it's been like a calling to do that from kind of like the beginning. I didn't realize where it was going, but yeah, it seems to be a part of the whole. And it's actually interesting that reading my book. The name of my book is called Shadow Chaser.
And where can we find it?
You can get it on Amazon. Right now, it's probably the best place to get it. Just look up Sean Austin and Shadow Chaser. I mean, I'm sending out signed books myself. You can private message me how to get that. Whatchamacallit? So it's interesting because we all have psychic friends that we trust. We're in the paranormal field, and I had a good friend of mine. Her name's Judy. And she has a psychic friend she really trusts. And she showed my picture to her friend and said she knows nothing about me. And she said, you know, what's your psychic impressions about him looking at his picture? And she goes, he's a shadow chaser. She's like, well, what do you mean? She's like, he's meant to take shadows and send them back to where they belong. And I was like, okay, I guess I'm calling the book that.
Wow.
Well, it makes sense. And you're doing it for the greater good, and we really appreciate that. I mean, it says a lot. You're doing it to help, and we thank you for that.
Hey, that's what we, you know, all should be doing. You know, it's all about helping our fellow man or fellow soul, because we're all come from the same place, like I said prior.
Yeah. So, but there was any occasions that particularly moved you?
Well, I could tell you a little bit scary and it's part of my book, actually. So a friend of mine, Dave Spinks, and myself, we went to investigate a place called Farnham Manor in Ohio. And a lot of activity there, but we ended up staying at this cottage down the street that I didn't realize it was really haunted. And I never really realized when we walked into the property and realized that it was so... I could feel the energy. I'm like, this place is messed up. It is really something messed up happened here. I don't know what it is, but we were drawn and we went down to the basement. And I mean, I don't know if you guys have had an experience, but like when you walk into a place and your equilibrium feels off, to me, it's some sort of, to me, it's like a sign of a portal that's open for whatever the reason for an event that took place, and something, you're just completely off kilter.
Right.
You know, the responses we were getting were just these women asking for help, and, you know, he's malevolent and stuff like that. And I was getting psychic, you know, flashes of like torture equipment that was going on. And I'm like, I really feel like women were like sadistically tortured and killed and you know, worse. And, you know, we asked, you know, the property owners, if there's any links to that. And they said that there was a doctor that was doing illegal abortions in the area. And they don't like to talk about that much. And, you know, that was my link to it. And we were there for a couple of nights, and we were in the house. We get the rotting smells out of nowhere. which is typical for something that could be demonic. And we were getting satanic references, and this guy, I believe, was this evil doctor who was some sort of Freemason that was doing sadistic things to women. And I'll never forget one of our last nights. We had an SB11 on top of the fireplace.
Wow.
And I had an SB7 in my hand, and I have this on video too. And all of a sudden, because I mean, this is me saying, like, if you have these women trapped here, you have no right to trap them here. And this voice comes over the SB11 over the fireplace. He's like, "Come over here." So I got up, and I was just like, I got the chills, and I'm like, I'm sorry. I mean, my faith is stronger than any evil spirit. So whatever you're trying to do is not going to work on me. And I was like, again, I'm going to say a prayer for these women. If they're trapped here, they're going to find peace for themselves. So I sat there and did something. It was actually the first time I ever did it, and now it's something that I do a lot when spirits give me some sort of sign that they're looking for help and say pray. I do a visualization of white light coming down, and I pray to Archangel Michael, and I say an Our Father, Hail Mary, and I encourage these women that may be trapped there, and for the angel to bring the loved ones to the light, to give them the extra incentive and courage to do so they can find the peace they deserve. Because what I believe what happens is that these souls are so consumed with the emotions that led to their death. They might have, if they were tortured and killed, someone like him is going to keep these women trapped there, and he doesn't want to let them go because he doesn't want to be accountable for his own mistakes and the terrible things he committed. And and that's the scenario that's happened in a reoccurring theme in a couple of things in my book as well. But this one's just particular. And I did this visualization. I prayed, and right after that, I saw in my mind's eye a flash of a white dove, which is now my symbol for a female crossing over. And if it's a male, it's a white horse. And it's usually what spirits they do. They communicate through a kind of what I like to call spiritual charades. It's all about symbols, something that means something, and then they'll use that kind of like a card in a deck of cards that'll just, okay, that's what that means. I prayed and did that, and Dave was there with me, and on two different boxes, one on my hand and the one on the fireplace, right after I'm like, I hope that prayer helped you, and I got two different female voices that came in and said thank you and thank you right after that on both boxes. And I had the chills like right after that, and after that was our last night there, and a bunch of stuff happened while we were there, creepy stuff. But I'll never forget when we were leaving the property next day, I threw holy water around the basement, and and I just kept on hearing in my head, "You have hell to pay," over and over again in my head. And I stayed in a hotel the next night before I headed back, and I was laying in my bed, I was dozing off, and I literally saw like the creepiest face ever. What you would expect of a demon. It was red face, yellow eyes, black horns in the front, and sharp teeth, and it just had this downward stare. And that's the creepiest part about it, because I've seen some creepy things like this, but the feeling it gave to me, it's like this downward stare into my soul. That was like the most unsettling feeling I've ever felt, ever. And I just jumped up and, of course, throwing holy water all around my hotel room. And I'll never forget, I was exhausted. I was investigating for 3 nights, and I drove a 7-hour drive home to New York. And I got back to my apartment, and I was so exhausted, just from emotionally, spiritually, physically, everything. And I was just too tired. I couldn't even, I could hardly hold myself up. I just laid down. I know I probably should have blessed my place too. And I'll never forget. There's a picture that's drawn in the book of what actually happened. Is that I saw a shadow dart around my bed, and then I was dozing off, and I saw the vision of this evil doctor man, and he just took his finger and just glided across his neck as if you're dead, and his face was all zombified, like a dead person and decayed and stuff. Really creepy. And then after that, I saw this vision of this, what I believe to be the same thing, the thing with the horns, in a shadow form in the corner of my bed. And when it spoke, is as if my whole room shook, and he goes, "There are rules."
Wow.
And then I woke up.
Wow.
I woke up and had the chills, and I'm just obviously, I'm assuming that this demonic thing was pissed off because, I took these female souls, and this evil man still follows me to this day. I was hearing him earlier on today. He's just so relentless and actually pissed off. And he's like, "You took those 2 women away from me." And, he's like obsessed. And actually, this is something that I actually believe as well. And actually, in this certain perspective with this individual entity, is that I believe this man did some really evil shit when he was alive. And I actually think that demonic spirits not only possess physical human beings, but they also will possess and influence souls. Mm-hmm. And I believe that this demonic spirit is latched onto him and making him be obsessive and full of anger, and making him obsess over the sadistic acts that he was able to commit on these poor women and whatever else he did in his physical life. And it keeps him angry at me, and it's kind of like he was keeping them all trapped, like with the women being consumed with whatever torture they went through. When they're consumed with these negative emotions, what I believe what happens is that they actually lower their vibrational realm frequency, and it keeps them in that lower realm with the evil spirits, the demonic spirits, and it blinds them from the light. Because I think there's steps in different realms that go higher and higher and higher, which ultimately get closer to God. And that's what I believe was happening with this man. And I came home. And then after that happened, I had red marks show up on my wrists and top of my feet around the same time that happened as well. And to me, I have no idea. Like, I was even asking some people, like, I don't know, is that the stigmata? Like, what the heck? It even looked like rectangular, red marks. And to me, it's like the only thing I can think of is it's like a representation of like Jesus was crucified and he was helping souls. And here I am. That's exactly what I mean.
It's your warrior mark, It's hard to be a warrior for the greater good.
Yeah, I mean, it's just all mysterious to me, but obviously now I feel like it's just, okay, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. I want to be able to help people that are alive in the physical plane, but I feel like it's also this big thing about being able to help the souls that are trapped too, because it's the same thing. We're still saving souls, and
whether dead or alive,
saving them from suffering. Right. It's the same concept.
You said white doves for when the women are released into the light, and you said something about men, and I only heard white. I didn't hear what you said after that.
I'll see a white horse.
A white horse. Okay. Thank you.
Flashes in my mind, and I just pay attention to that now too. And something what you're saying that changes my life too is that I've been in other investigations. I Periscope, let these people watch it in a lot of places I've been, and some of the time they will actually project their emotions onto me, and I'll do that prayer, I do the visualization, and all of a sudden I'll actually start tearing up and feel this emotion take over my body. And the best way to explain what it feels like is as if someone ran out of a building that was on fire with a fireman who just saved their life, and they're holding them and dearly and saying, thank you for saving my life, because that's the emotion that I actually feel, and I actually would be like crying. And then all of a sudden the spirit box, it'll come through right after that and say, thank you, I'm going to heaven. And I have people witnessing that shit. I mean, that's life-changing shit. I mean, I get chills just thinking about it. Just the thought of being able to help someone, like, and getting confirmation of that. I mean, I'm not saying, this is definitely happening, but I'm getting emotions and feeling that it is happening, and that I just go along with that. And just the thought of being able to help these souls, that's why I do it. And that's something you can't even, like, comprehend or match with just being able to experience scary stuff. Because I mean, obviously it's interesting.
No feeling in the world like it. No feeling in the world like it.
Yeah. So I mean, that's why I just keep doing what I'm doing. I mean, obviously I'm pissing off some evil things, but
it's awesome that you're doing it for the right reasons. There's not too many people that do that. It's all for personal gain and personal interest, but you're a rarity, Sean, for sure.
Yep, and your voice should be heard.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. When it comes to being a spiritual person, we're supposed to be the furthest thing from ego. They go together like oil and vinegar. Exactly. I mean, being a spiritual person, we're all supposed to be working synergistically together to help progress, all of us together. And it's unfortunate, but I always say these days, I mean, obviously, there's no way around it. The paranormal field is part of the entertainment business because there are a lot of TV shows. And what comes with that are a lot of people that are getting into the field just for the attention. And then you get the people that are not really truly passionate about it. We're basically competing back and forth like we might as well be in Hollywood trying to get an acting job. It's the same shit.
Yeah.
You said it.
Yeah, and then the paradrama on top of that. Oh, man.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're dealing with Hollywood drama because it's part of the entertainment business. It's unfortunate because, I mean, we are passionate, but yeah, it'd be great. I mean, I was on TV for a small stint. I'd love to be back on TV making a difference. And what's good about on TV, if it's done right, you can make a difference with a big, huge impact on people. Mm-hmm. I'd love to be a part of that. That's great. But I mean, obviously, then you get all these people that are high up in the Hollywood offices, and then things happen, and just got shit thrown at the wall, hoping it sticks with any sort of concept that has to do with Casper the Ghost. Right. So, but there's no way around it. But all we can do is keep doing what we're doing. I just try to do the work that I do and have the experiences. And like I said, I'm excited to have my first book out, and I'll definitely release more. I already have piles of stories to add to my second book. And that's why, I'm just going to keep having my experiences. I experience something almost pretty much every day. I mean, so, there's never a dull moment, and it's important, even if it's just a book, to get your stories out there. Because I can help people just from telling my stories. That's why I go on, live broadcasts on Periscope. Even if you're helping one person or 1 million people, you're making a difference. Right. And, it's all about that intent and bringing light into the world wherever it's not reaching. And, because there's a lot of people still out there that might feel that they're alone experiencing this stuff, and it's good to inform them how they can be influenced from a negative standpoint and perspective from the types of entities that are out there.
Yeah, and that's why the three of us do these shows.
And God bless you, man. God bless you for your work.
Oh, likewise. Thank you.
Odin.
Speaking of God.
Yeah, Odin, where you at?
Weston, and I'm ready to rock with a good one. John, a book I read a few years back. It's called Echo's Revenge. Was that you?
Echo's Revenge? No.
Yeah. Ah, dang. I was going to be like, that was one of the best books I've read for science fiction in a long time. Okay, I will look at your book, definitely. Question number 2. What effect does the lunar eclipse that we've been having have on the paranormal world that you're in? And have you noticed that there has been an excessive amount of paranormal activity since this Mercury retrograde and the multiple lunar eclipses?
Well, actually, it's not just the lunar eclipse in general. When I first started investigating, I was researching about, because it fascinated me why I would go to a location one night and it is off the hook, crazy, insane, surreal. And then another night, I'm playing patty cake with Care Bears. I'm like, why is that? So
I like him. I like him.
Me too. I'm with you.
So, I mean, I looked up online, and now I have a belief system that it's not just about the lunar eclipse, it's about the moon in general that's actually affecting paranormal activity. Because we all know that water is a conduit to paranormal energy. And you think about it, the entire world is mostly water. And what does the moon do to the water and the tides all across the entire planet?
Right.
It brings the tides in, or it brings it in, or pulls it back. And I think that's a tie to what is creating the veil to be lifted or brought back in. And I truly believe, because I would experiment that, and I was seeing some websites where they actually say if most paranormal activity happens on 3 days before a new moon or after a new moon. And I would actually look at the calendar, and I'd go out there and I'd investigate on those days and realize that there was more activity happening on those types of dates. And it's an interesting thing to experiment with, to see, that. And to me, absolutely 100%. So lunar eclipses, I mean, I remember there was a supermoon, and I was doing a scope from a cemetery during the day. I was talking to people during the day. It's on my Instagram, a ball of light, and the viewer saw it first, flies right at my screen with a tail of light in the middle of the day. So big events, like, I mean, they look like freaking Tinkerbell on crack. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, the moon, absolutely 100% belief in the fact that it affects paranormal activity. Big time. Big time.
Well, then now I got the next question that's going to be the ultimate for you tonight. Yes, I'm the ultimate. What forms and ways do you recommend us as, say, lay people, to be able to protect ourselves from the entering of spirit beings into our body, be it demonic or spiritual? I can't say ghost, because ghost is a spirit anyway. So spirit being entering our body. And besides, is there a way? But what ways have you used to protect you from being entered as well?
Well, obviously my belief system. I mean, you know that I'm Catholic, and I use methods of that. I mean, I say protection prayers every single, day of my life. I mean, when I go to sleep, I am the most vulnerable, because these things will come to me, any of us, when we're in that point. Because when we're sleeping, we're in a meditative state, and your subconscious mind is at the forefront of your mind, and you're most susceptible to having telepathic projection and influences into your dreams and nightmares, and attacking you because you're in that state. Protection prayers every single day, a strong faith foundation, because I mean, if you don't believe in the prayers that you're saying, it means nothing. I always bring up the metaphor. It's the same as a vampire movie. What happens when they put a crucifix up in front of the vampire, and they recoil for about a second, they start laughing? You need to have faith. It is the same exact thing. If you don't believe in those prayers, or believe in a medal that you're wearing, or the holy water, what is that supposed to do for you? Because that means you're undermining God's power. And that's why, another thing too, I always tell people, and I like this metaphor, hey, if I'm in a dark place and I see some huge shadow and it has horns or something like that, yeah, I'm going to probably scream out and be like, WTF, but, and be freaked out for a little bit. But at the same time, I'm going to land my, feet on the ground, and I'm going to say, in the name of Jesus Christ, back off, and say it with conviction, and knowing, believing, and breathing in that notion, knowing that God's more powerful than any evil spirit. Knowing that and actually acting on that, they're not going to be able to do what they want to do to you ultimately. I always say, if you walk between two mountains, you walk out, God tells you to take your first step out into nothing, and there's nothing there. That is true faith. Now, if you stand in front of an evil demon right in front of you, and you fear it, and you act scared, what does that do? That's undermining you're undermining your faith in God and God's power. And that thing will use that against you. And that's what real true faith is. And that's why the faith is the most important. But obviously there's certain things that people can get involved with and be ignorant, but I'm not here to judge. I tell people what I think is dangerous. I know people that mess around with Ouija boards and do all that stuff. I would never do it again. I got oppressed after I played with a Ouija board, and I would never do that stuff because I know it's dangerous. But I learned through that process. But like I said, your intent going to places and provoking. I mean, if you're provoking for just the sake of entertainment, that puts you in danger. That's an invitation for that thing to come and wreck loose in your life at any point, in any point of your life. Yep. And like I said, these things can sit dormant patiently in a realm that time doesn't affect these things. But I use certain protection prayers before, every day, and I wear a blessed medal, and I say also a prayer after leaving a location. I cover myself with the blood of Jesus Christ. I say a little prayer, an Archangel Michael prayer. I'll throw holy water around my car. I mean, there's certain methods that I do.
That's the way to do it, man. Throw the holy water on the car, take a bath.
Oh, yeah, I don't give a crap, man. I mean, and hey, someone like me, like I said, I step in the way of evil. You're always a target. So they're going to come at you. Things still do happen to me. Things will try to mess with me. I'll even catch them try to mess with my emotions at one point where I might be vulnerable. Like, even drinking a lot. Like, I notice if you drink a lot, like for me, it lowers your vibrational frequency. And by doing so, you're lowering yourself to their level. And that's where they're looking for a crack in your aura. When you're indulging in stuff like that. And I've noticed that experience, like after a few nights of drinking, if I'm away, in the summer, and all of a sudden I'm okay, here we go. The next night or two, I'm going to have some creepy dreams, and it happens every time. Mm-hmm. These are just things that I've just learned about, and just knowing how these things can attack you, that's what's so important. Reading some of those books that I mentioned are good informative books to help you be aware, of what can happen and how they come at you. And like I said, the psychological attacks. And then, of course, the most importantly, the faith foundation. Because, I mean, you can't fight these things with your fists. How are you going to fight it? You can't fight it with your bad attitude, because obviously that just invites it in even more. And that's what it wants you to do. It's looking for an invitation.
Right.
So, I mean, but everyone has different methods. That's my method. I mean, that's what I do to keep myself protected, because of everything that I've experienced. This isn't a matter of wondering about if it's the case or not. I know it's the case, because it's what it protects me, and I see these things. I mean, I remember I was on the phone with some girl that would mess around with witchcraft, and she was going through possession, and it was a really, really hectic story. She would be on the phone with me speaking Latin and English backwards, and I didn't even know she was speaking English backwards until I took the audio from the phone call and put it in reverse, and she would be talking about exorcism backwards. And I'll never forget this one time, she was all of a sudden talking like a low-toned voice, like a male voice, and nasty to me. And I started saying a prayer for her over the phone, and I got 13 slashes that showed up on my arm while I was laying in my bed in my room.
Wow.
And I had a cross that was a crucifix that was 6 inches tall, and I'm like, saying prayers, and she couldn't even see me on the phone. I put that cross up to the phone, right up to it, hissed at me, without even seeing me. That's the type of shit that I'm talking about, that brings your validity to a faith that's unmatchable.
Sean,
things like.
Sean, have you ever performed exorcisms or been involved with exorcisms?
I mean, a priest would have to perform an exorcism. I've never assisted on a solemn exorcism. Obviously, in the Demon Files, we did exorcisms on homes if we found evidence of demonic entities. But I've never. That was the closest thing that I ever dealt with someone that was possessed with this girl, which I'm probably going to put that story in one of my next books. But I've never been around. That was over the phone, and I had lots of experiences, but I've never been on a solemn exorcism. But obviously, someone like Ralph Sarchi, I've heard lots of stories, even Zaffis too, John Zaffis. Some really wild stories, because I was always interested in that too, because it's a taboo corner of the paranormal. Because you think about the most extreme activity is going to happen with these types of entities. So obviously that's fascinating too, but it's the most dangerous. Mm-hmm. And you got to be aware of all that and be informed at every avenue possible.
Right. Yeah, I know. And you mentioned about rosaries and medals and stuff. I won't even leave my apartment without my medals and a rosary in my pocket. I won't even walk out that door without those things. You never know what's going to affect you or attack you, spiritual or human, Just you gotta
and especially someone like me, I'm sensitive. So if you're sensitive to spirits and you don't know about your abilities, because that's something that was happening to me, I believe too, is that I was having a spiritual awakening, and I was actually nervous at the time that something demonic or evil was trying to make me think I was psychic, because I'm like, why would this happen to me in the middle of my life? Why wouldn't it happen in the beginning of my life? But now I know it's because I was starting to investigate and engage these spirits, that there were abilities that were coming out in me, and it was happening pretty quickly. But they were using that against me. And I'll never forget, some black hooded thing came to me when I was in bed. It was choking me, and it goes, "The transformation," in a really creepy voice. And now I know what that meant. It's like it knew I was going through what I was going through, and it was going to try to attack me or use me. And that's why they go after children, because if children are fresh in the spirit realm, they have not been contaminated by the rational thoughts that we hammer into their impressionable minds. And the spirits, even the ghosts, look to go to the children and get acknowledgement, because acknowledgement energizes spirits. So they're looking for energy for whatever the reason. If they're
do we lose Sean?
Sean?
Yeah. It doesn't showing up here as being lost.
Sean, you there?
But
oh, there he is.
Never know what
it is.
Yeah, we lost you for a moment, my brother.
Oh, okay.
So you're back.
What were you saying about people who are weak? If you're weak spiritually, they'll attack you, and they know. That's something you were saying before you got cut off.
Yeah, they'll attack you. Well, hold on, let me just get here. I don't know what happened here.
Yeah, welcome to Mercury in retrograde.
See what I said, everybody? Mercury retrograde. That moon.
Yeah.
A second here.
Yeah, it sure zapped me, that eclipse. Boy.
Wow.
Real good. Well, we already know that.
Right.
Sean,
are you with us, brother?
Yeah. So what I was saying was, did you get to the part with the children? They go towards children because they're fresh from the spirit realm.
right. We got that part, and then we lost you.
Yeah. Yeah, they're looking to affect people, from a certain standpoint. Acknowledgement's a very powerful thing, and the spirits will go towards the children. Anyone in general that they can get acknowledgement from, they might just want to have their message get across to them. But these ghosts, the purgatorial states, they're in a purgatorial state. They're looking to feel more human because they haven't let go of their human life. So by interacting with us in the physical plane, it makes them feel more human, and it energizes them, and it keeps them, in some sort of dysfunctional spiritual complacency. I think I just came up with my own weird
Works for us, man. Works for us.
Yeah. So these are things that I've just learned and believe with everything I've experienced. And like I said, acknowledgement's a very powerful thing to all these spiritual energies. So it's good to be aware of how they can affect all of us, kids, adults, and so forth.
So I guess it's safe to say that it's good for everybody to have some sort of spiritual protection, especially if you're sensitive to spirits that are all around.
Well, yeah. I mean, would you want to send anyone down a dark alley filled with like serial killers?
No.
I mean, with just their pants and shirt on?
Probably not.
No.
I mean, there you go.
They'd run away from me if that were me.
I had a group.
It's very important.
Yeah, I had a group over in Ohio that were friends of mine, and the one lead investigator of the group knew of my abilities, and he wouldn't investigate with me unless I would start wearing medals, which I did, soon after he talked to me. But it's very important, I think, as well.
Yeah, well, especially when you have abilities, because they're going to come right to you. You're going to pick up on stuff, and like I said, they'll I believe they'll see that right on your aura, and that's why they gravitate towards any of us, and especially those children. They can see that brightness that's in a dark room that they're in currently for whatever the reason, and they're going to try to reach out and connect with you for whatever the individual reason it is for the spirit.
Chip, you got a question for Sean?
Yeah, I do. And a statement, and don't take this the wrong way, but irregardless of demons or torturers of women or any of those things that may impend on you, the three of us have decided we're going to kidnap you, and you're going to have to hang out with us for life. Just so you know, man.
Hold on, I got the duct tape.
Yeah, see? Keep that radar alive, man. Or road trip, you know?
Yes, very much.
One or the other. We love you. We all love you. I've got a very good friend who's a book publisher, in case you ever get unhappy with the publisher you have, who treats people like family and is probably would be great for you. That's not a question. My question is, and this is my curiosity, because unlike you and Timmy, and Odin, I'm not actually sure of, but he's a god anyway. I was not raised under one specific faith. I had two parents, each from different faiths. One got disowned from her family for marrying the other. So I took time to go to all these different churches or mosques or temples, or during one summer in my youth, when I could have been partying, to see the generality, and there is such a similarity of belief system, in both God and whatever they name or deem their God. and the influence of good and evil, and sinning and behavior, and things of that nature. And I guess my question is, because there are those people that do investigations that don't come from structured faiths, or have a variety of structured faiths,
Mm-hmm. Right, no, of course.
And for me personally, and we're talking about protection. So yes, I look to archangels. I don't wear medals, but I have personally spirit guides. And my spirit guides, and the spirits that I have dealt with and helped in my life, because I have not had any negative encounters, are rather protective of me. So I can walk into these places with the good faith that I'm basically untouchable or hard to reach. Or, what's the point of beating up the little guy in the room? Where's the fun in that? Let's go beat up the bigger guys, the stronger guys, So there's a little element of that too. My question for you is, with your faith in everything, and your true mediumistic abilities and psychic abilities, and your troopership in the paranormal, do you feel as though you have spirit guides? And would that conflict with your structured belief?
No, I believe we all have spirit guides, and we also have guardian angels. Spirit guides usually come in the form of like family members and things like that. But I believe, even angels are considered, they're guiding us. Mm-hmm. So I do believe that there are souls from heaven do absolutely guide us. They want us to accomplish the goals that we wanted to accomplish before we came here. Because I think the ultimate goal for us is bring a brightness to our soul. Because I was brought up Catholic, but with everything that I've experienced, I actually do believe in reincarnation. I know that goes against Catholic.
Hey man, you go, man. That's beautiful. We're with you.
To me, there's no way that my soul could learn all the lessons we're capable of learning in one life. And if that's the case, that means that everything's random, that all of our souls landed in random bodies and random experiences and paths for all these random reasons. And to me, it just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense because I started having outer body experiences. It's in my book, and I read a book about this whole thing about astral projecting because it was happening to me, and I wanted to know why it's happening, how it's happening, and what I can learn from it if it does happen to me in the process. Because obviously, whatever spiritual experience I'm having happen to me, God's letting it happen to me so I can learn from it. So that's why the way I take it on, and the way this guy perceived it, I just believe it. Even Jesus reincarnated; he came back and came back. But so what they say, and which I totally believe, is that our souls come down here. We want to bring a brightness to our soul. And if we accomplish the goals and bring light into the world with the good things we're capable of doing in our individual lives, we raise our vibrational frequency, which I've mentioned a few times, prior on your show. Excellent. And by doing so, we're getting one step closer to being like God, and we get into those higher realms where people like Moses and people like that. And that's why we'll keep coming back, because we're all God's children, and we all want to be more like God, and that's why we'll keep coming back to have that potential to bring the brightness to our soul and be at God's level.
Wow, excellent. Yeah, we're kidnapping you, man. So the only thing you really have to fear is us now.
Odin, what were you going to say, bud?
All I can say at this point in time is I have an interest. Gentlemen, bring him before me.
See, you're in trouble now, man.
Studio B, here we come.
Yeah, there are things, I just want to say this out loud before I pass it on to God. But if you have time to stay with us when the show is over, we would love to talk with you a little bit after the show.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Odin, my man.
Oh, well, I have a dynamite question. With your music that you have been performing, and I have to admit, it's pretty good.
It's good, man. Wow.
Very good, very good.
Bless you for that, too. It is good.
Thank you.
Thanks.
It's awesome music. I gotta give you your credit. And you've mixed it with being a paranormalist. Where do you find the time to anything
right?
in between? I mean, I know for a fact as a musician myself, it takes a huge portion of your day. And then going out and doing paranormal investigations is something tedious where you really have to focus and have your mind set on every little thing about and around you, because you have to protect yourself just as much as you have to protect your friend beside you, and keep an eye out on little things that go bump and move. So the question was, how do you do it?
Well, I mean, to be honest with you, I was doing a lot of paranormal stuff for a while, and I didn't have time to do the music, and I saved up some cash, and as soon as I had the cash, I haven't been able to record anything, and I went straight to Nashville and recorded that EP, and that's why I kind of like did the same cover on my EP as it is on my book, to kind of, because some of those songs I wrote, like That's Enough and Shapeshifter, on the name of the EP that I did, I wrote that song Shapeshifter during that time that I was oppressed by an evil spirit, because I was in a dark place. But I always have that like underlying hope in the way I write songs. Like, even though I'm in this dark place, like I know I'm learning through this experience, and we can all have the chance to win if we can endure it and learn from it and conquer it. So it's kind of like a mini soundtrack to the book. And, those are my two passions. Music was my first passion. And yeah, I mean, my band opened up for Lifehouse in Connecticut at a really awesome show last Thursday. And, I would only be doing acoustic gigs by myself here and there. And I got together with some of my old bandmates and some new ones, and we were rehearsing every week. And yeah, like I didn't have time to do shit. I mean, rehearsing, and yeah, on the weekend, obviously it's the summer, and I want to be able to go to certain places and investigate and stuff like that. Yeah, it's with the normal job in the middle of that. Oh yeah, party time.
Wow. I mean, you're real, and you keep it real, and that's what I like a lot about you. Now, in your paranormal investigations and, I mean, dealing with spirits, have you ever had a spirit that totally refused all your icons and all your belief system, and you had to go outside of the box to move?
No. Are you talking about like something that would be like, okay, this isn't working,
right?
Something else? No. I mean, literally, if I'm able to, I mean, the thing is that even if I bless my place, and say for instance, I was telling you before, like I went out and had drinks for a couple of nights in a row, or I kind of drank too much last night. Like, even though I might pray a lot, like something's gonna probably mess with me, because I'm still in their level. And even if I say those prayers, I made myself susceptible to it. That's because of my free will choice, and I understand that. That's not about undermining God's faith or my faith, or God's power, so to speak. But no, in the end, it's always my faith that really protects me. It's never been that issue. And like I said, I've had some pretty wild experiences using my faith and methods in prayer and conviction when yelling these things out or whatever to make sure that I am protected.
Wow. I mean, such a good-hearted man, open, honest about his life, no cut cards. I mean, I like the words, the brutal honesty. Mm-hmm. Yeah, brutal honesty. I like that. That's part of what, we stand for here, and we continue to stand for it, because that's why we have great guests and great hosts, because the honesty factor, the confidence factor, and just telling the truth about themselves and their lives. And yeah, we all drink, we all do this, we all do. That's what I like, and the reason why I like it is because it puts you open. It opens that door where you can say, somebody can come up and say blah 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 whatever about you, but hey, we already know. I mean, it's the truth. I mean, okay, so don't make a big deal out of it. You already said it. It's like they say in Catholic Church, confession of your sins, confession of who you are, and confession of what you desire. I got to pass the next question on. I guess it'll be Tim's turn.
It's Timmy's turn.
Tim turn.
Timid.
It's a day at the Roxbury.
That's right. Our glorious host.
Sean, what's your thoughts on, like, if you see three doves? Is there a connection between them and maybe a loved one who was passed on?
What you mean when I see that?
Yeah,
Affirmations, I suppose.
affirmation. Yeah.
I just feel like they just figured out a way to show me that's going to mean what that means when someone's actually crossing over into the light. And that's how I can recognize that it's actually happening. And then sometimes I don't see it, but then someone will actually, still say, thank you, or, thank you for helping me. I'm
Right.
going to go now.
Because
Something like that. So
Because I lost my dad a year and a half ago, and my mom was on the porch a few days ago, and she had saw these three doves flying in front of the house, and one actually went on the porch and scared her, and the other one
That was the one I sent. I think the other two were your dad.
and the third one made loops around the dogwood tree out front, like 2 or 3 loops, and then they flew away simultaneously.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's not just about what I'm seeing psychically. There's a lot of people. I believe the people that are actually the souls that are crossed over into heaven and in the light, they communicate with us and have these weird coincidences that happen to us. And it might be just a song on the radio where you're thinking about your loved ones, your parents, your grandparents, whatever it is. And at those given moment, they're with you. And there's lots of stories and things like that with birds. I mean, I know that there's like videos online of like a bird that was the favorite bird of the loved one, and they were visiting the grave, and it would just sit there and show up every time this person showed up at the grave. So yeah, absolutely. And obviously it's making you think of your loved one by it happening. They know that. They're going to place that there because, again, we're talking about a realm that's not not affected by time. Past, present, future, all the same things. They know that by doing that, they're going to trigger a response within you to make you remind yourself of them. And that's where it's kind of like what God allows them to come in and let us know that they're really here and to comfort us in a way. And that's what, like, some of my medium abilities too. Like, it's funny. Like, I went to some campgrounds over the weekend, and it's a cool group thing called Chive. And they get together and they party, but the money goes towards charity. So it's kind of like, wow, you get to sprain your liver for charity. That's great. So it's it was a good time, whatever. And I remember having some drinks, and then all of a sudden I'm like, I just heard something about this, this girl's mother, and I'm like, there's something you need to know about your mother. And she was just like looking white in the face. I'm like, oh God. But I just said it to her. I'm just like, look, she really regrets saying something that she shouldn't have said to you, and she just started bawling, crying. And then she's like, and she's like, I never cry. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, sorry. But she just showed me a notebook too. And it ends up that her mom like died 12 years ago. And, she was like all messed up on morphine. And she had this notebook that she was writing in a journal in right before she died. And she did say something very regrettable to her daughter. And they were really close before she passed away. So it actually helped her. So, yeah, I mean, that's what like mediums are supposed to be doing, like doing that sort of thing, helping others, and all these little signs that come through, whether it's just communicating through somebody or these little weird things that happen around us. They're little spiritual, bombs going off. And if you pay attention to them, you'll notice them. I call them spiritual billboards. I mean, once you're open to that and synchronicities, things, because I'm also a big firm believer in law of attraction. I mean, you will attract signs. You allow your spiritual guides, your angels, to give you more signs and encouragement by giving you those signs. If you're open to them, you will attract everything that you believe in.
And it's easier to find them if you actually seek them.
Absolutely. Right. It allows them to help you and guide you further if you acknowledge, your guardian angels and so forth. Absolutely.
The law of attraction seems like the ship of destruction for me, well, until recently.
Well, not from my point of view, my friend. I think that, you deserve so much great things that they're just all hitting you at the same time. And you don't have to, there's only enough hours in the day. All right, I got a dumb question for you, and then I have a smart question for you. My dumb question is, look, the four of us here are having this tremendous powwow. I don't know if we'll actually kidnap you, but, something's coming. Something.
Don't worry, I have an Ozzy for
But
him.
I guess the dumb question is, am I still the only one who's selling his body for drugs?
Hold on, I'm still looking for my aspirins.
Your aspirins. I'm still looking for, I'm trying to earn more than 50 cents at a shot here, but it is what it is.
You mean you can't get no more than that for you? Oh, man.
Well, look, I made $36 the other night. $36.50. My wife said, "Who gave you the 50 cents?" I said, "Everybody." But I'm gonna suppose that's a yes. I'm the only one. But that was my dumb question. Unless you want to interject and let us know, I would feel much better if somebody else was doing it too.
You wouldn't feel so left out then, don't you?
Yeah, we're getting to the point. We got, I guess, about 8 minutes left. So I want to be the one who encourages you to tell us where we can find your music, where we can find your books, where we can find about you, so we make sure we get that in before our time is up.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, the book is Shadow Chaser. Look up Sean Austin. And my EP, Shapeshifter, you can get it on iTunes and Amazon and all those good digital stores. And cdbaby.com if you want a physical copy of the CD as well. Because I'm obviously independently selling that if you just look up Sean Austin Shapeshifter. So, absolutely.
Yeah, we'll definitely have to have you back on, the three of us. Because, man, that hour and a half just flew by.
Hold on. I got a question. One more question. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a question. This man is so good, and he's so open and honest. Do we really want him back on?
Yeah.
Oh, I just want to check and make sure. That was a stupid question.
Well, I'm not the only one then, so thank you for that. I asked two, so, if you got another one in there, Odin.
Oh,
Stupid question, I mean.
Okay, I got another stupid question. Will you hang on after the show? Because, we love you so much that we really honestly would love to talk with you even further. And I have the supreme ruler of Odin over here, the lady herself. My wonderful, loving wife is here, and she thinks that you have given the most awesome interview, and it was so sweet.
Yeah, she's a god too, right?
Yes, she is.
It was a great interview, Sean. It really was. It's one of the best I've done. So.
Appreciate it.
Welcome.
Yeah, I'm still bummed out that I'm the only one selling my body for drugs here.
Oh man, you need
I'll get over that. You
got to raise your prices or quit, man. Seriously, you're wasting
time.
you
don't understand how good the drugs are. That's the problem.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't even know why I said that out loud.
You ought to come here, and I'm sure you can make some money here.
Yeah, that's a good idea, man. Talk about road trip.
Yeah.
I can get everything out of that. Hey, I've got a question.
Good.
And since I think we're at the 4-minute mark, maybe.
Yep. I got to play a song afterwards.
Odin is a producer, so he can monitor the time even better than I can because my computer's off and it is Mercury in retrograde as far as time goes. If there was really any one thing that you would hope the listeners, who we love also, by the way, that you would want them to know, and you've probably already said it, but through all the work that you've done in these realms, all the things that you've experienced, even including with the music and the nightlife and all that comes with that, if there was really any one thing that you would really want the listeners to know from you and your essence, what would that be?
Well, if you decide to get involved with the paranormal, it's very important to read up in informative books that can help you be prepared for what you're getting yourself involved with, to keep yourself protected ultimately, so you're aware of all the worst case scenarios that can happen to you, and being a good person. I don't judge any other people's faiths and stuff like that. Like, this is who I am. If you want to listen to me, you want to be, involved with that, you want to hear what I'm saying, and I can help you, then so be it. But, I think it's really the most important thing to be a good person, love others who want to be loved, because that's really what God represents. and that transcends every single religious faith that's out there. It's love, and that's the most important thing. And obviously, we have our moments where we're imperfect. We're supposed to screw up. We're human beings, but every little obstacle that we endure, just realize that it's happening to you for a reason to help better your soul. And if you have a deeper understanding for that, I think you'll be able to take head on a lot more of these things that we have to endure. I mean, things can get really rough, but if you persevere and keep going and pushing and keep believing in yourself and believing in what you're capable of doing and greatness that we all have individually as a gift from God, then you will accomplish that.
Awesome.
Thank you for that, man. And Daryl Neely, Tim Roxbury, and Chip Reichanthal are the only three people who can kidnap you. I just wanted to say that. And,
well, guys, I think we're about out of
my duct tape.
I think we're about out of time here, guys.
Yeah, I think so, brother.
I think we're going to end the show with one of Sean's songs, "I Am Alone."
Oh, what a great idea.
That'll be a good show.
Boy, there's some good music there. Sean Austin Music on YouTube.
I'm going to go ahead and end the show here, and I'm going to thank Sean Austin again for joining us, and we'll talk to him after the show.
And Odin, who is also our guest.
Yes, Odin. Exactly.
We have to thank God after all.
Thank you.
All right, everybody. I'm going to end the show here, and everybody have a great week. And next week, be sure to tune in, same time, same channel, right here on LNM Radio Network.
Yeah.
Good night, everybody.